Hello, everybody. Again, I want to share my story of a little bit of my experience of growing up in the foster care system. I pretty much, from the age of 7 to the age of 18, I spent many of my years in the foster care system. Went through many trials, went through many tribulations, um, and I went through a lot, along with hundreds of other children who were there during the time I was in there. Of course, back then it was in the late, early '90s, mid '90s, over 20 some years ago. But the system is still the same as it was back then. There has been some changes to the foster care system since that time, but pretty much it's still the same as far as that is concerned. Um, we have kids now, hundreds and even thousands of children across this nation who are in the foster care system. We have individuals, we have people, kids who will have to be there until they're 18. Unfortunately, many of the kids I remember, their mom and dad were on drugs, their fathers were alcoholics, and oftentimes, the kids are taken away from their parents due to these conditions. The child has the child had nothing to do with their parents' drug addiction or alcoholism. And unfortunately for children, we had no say. We couldn't be like, we're not going nowhere. But as we got older, we had a say. But when you're children, the ball falls within the older adults or whoever, CPS or whoever, the county or the state, whatever you want to call it. And that was my experience, you know, pretty much in the foster care system. I went through it all, everyone. I went through the emotional, physical, not the sexual abuse, but I've heard horror stories of children who went through all of it. I went through the physical and the emotional part of it. Foster care children never learned anything. We weren't taught much of nothing. So when we turned 18 in the foster care system, I didn't know how to fill out a bank card. I didn't know what a bank card was. I didn't know what a checking or savings account was. And I'm always reminded of that. To walk in a bank, your first time in the world, you're an adult, you're considered an adult at 18. You walk into the bank the first time. You walk into the bank the first time, right? You walk into the bank the first time, you don't know what you're doing. I didn't know what the world. And this lady, and I always share this story with everybody. Everybody be like, a lot of people are touched um, by my story. And I walked into that bank. I didn't know what I was doing. I was frozen. You're 18. You're considered an adult. You're still a kid. You're still a teenager, for crying out loud. Now I think they up the age to 21 now in the foster care system, which is good. That gives you an extra 2 years to do what you or to your independence, to where you can save money for your own apartment or your independent living, they call it, or they used to call it. Um, I share my story with everybody. Um, me personally, I experienced some of the most hellish years you could even dream possible. Being in a foster care is not a bowl of cherries as some people think. You're placed, you're from place to house to house, place to place. You're living with different families. You never have a stable place. You're always you're always living with a different family, living with different people, living with total strangers. City after city, city after city. We can never adjust to schools. Every time we would enroll into a school, whether it be middle school, whatever, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, we were gone again. We had no say. The state had control over us kids. Whatever the state recommended, whatever their recommendations were, we had to go by that. We as kids had to go by that. Parents, hold on to your children. Do not ever allow the state to take your kids, whether it be CPS or anyone. You go back and get them immediately. Although you're going to go through a lot of paperwork, but it's worth it. You have to do it for your kids, for you. Never allow the state to take control over your kids, because once the courts get it, it's going to be a lot of paperwork. It could take us 6 months up to a year before you actually get your kids back. So make sure you do not allow the state, CPS, or anyone to take your kids, or you go down fighting. It ain't gonna happen. I would be filing lawsuits and everything with your local city or state. That should never have happened. And people that do that, the people that do that for actually people who call CPS on other people's children, shame on you, because they're never going to allow. They may not ever see their kids again, or they can go from visitation. They can go visit them wherever they may be, wherever home they may be at. But when those kids see you leave, see you as a mom or father leave, it's never the same. They're living with complete strangers. These are people who decided to go into the foster care system, although you did have someone that were actually good-hearted families who were there with you, who accept you as their own, which was amazing. You had all of that. You had all of that. You did have certain families who did the right thing. But for the majority of them, they was in it for the money. They were in it for their own or money fortune and greedy fortune to pay some extra bills, or to pay their mortgage for their house. You know what I'm saying? So that is what I'm sharing with you. That's what I'm sharing with you guys. We have to be mindful of that. We have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt. This is what it is. Never allow your children to be taken into the state custody. Don't never allow it to happen, because it could be up to 6 months, maybe 2 years before you can get them back. I'm pretty sure your parents don't want to go through that. But every step of the way, you fight to get them back. If it ever happens, God forbid it never does. So, anyways, I want to share that real quick. Less than 10-minute video. So again, that is my experience growing up in the foster care system. There is so much more to my story. Push that like and subscribe button. Like and subscribe to my page. Push that bell for future videos I will upload to my channel. And again, love you all. Have a great Sunday. God bless. Peace, blessings, and love. Share my video, all that, and let people know. I want the world. I want y'all to know the horrors that go on in these homes. What the abuse I went through. The emotional abuse I went through in these foster homes. I want y'all to know. So again, love y'all. Be blessed. Have a great day. Peace.